Okay, so I'm back. Hello everybody. Today I'll be showing you what I have coded. All right, so here's something that I coded. I'm quite proud of. Yeah, you can explore the code with me as I do my commentary on it. So yeah, as you can see, I coded an entire program in JavaScript through Node.js. So my program is like a tiny wiki engine, like the software that runs Wikipedia and others, but it's smaller because like I want something that I can use for my own purposes. So yeah. So first let's start with this index.js file. So you see this thing is important for me to execute the code, but otherwise not really use. I have this use strict directives so that Node.js will run this in strict mode. You should look that up because I'm not explaining. I'll just explain my logic. So yeah, this is it. Let me add more. So you see all of these files, right? These are some of the other files that help separate and organize the code into different functions. So first of all, there's the API router, main, which is the area where the main logic happens. This file is just for the initialization of this software. And if you did not know, it's called PwmWiki. So yeah, here it is. This is all the file. This is all the configuration, and here's some of the libraries that I use for helping with the development, and here's some script that helps me with the work you see here. Alright, so yeah, and then there's this other library called data repo, which helps with this kind of things that deals with the content storage. And then there's the HTTP server library, which helps me work with the HTTP servers thing so that I do not have to do it right here, but I can choose it here. It's still work in progress as I hard coded it to HTTP. There's no SSL support or TLS. And then there is some of these libraries that I use like express.js for helping with the routing. API router plugs into Express. You will see that later. And then there's Morgan, which is for software logging. There is YAML for configuration. This is for the command line purposes. This is for working with the file system and path. You'll see that later. And this is for runtime assertions, for asserting something that normally should not be false, but we'll see. Alright, so this is supposed to be a library. Actually, it's a library, but due to some intrinsics, it's null, but you'll see later. So here are some arguments and environment variables. So this parses the environments with minimis, and then here's some environment variables that chooses like what adapters to use. You see here, right? So you can choose your own adapter, but if you do not specify, you will either go in using in memory or get base adapters based on whether this is environment is in development or not. You can see here. And then here's the main entry point, the async function. So yeah, you see yeah, hold up. You see this, right? This is where we import that ETA library because like it uses ECMAScript modules which requires import and cannot use require. So yeah, that is why I left it now up here. Alright, so here are some variables I define, which is for the data repo and wiki repo things. Alright, so first print a friendly banner. You see this line here. It's for printing this. And then there's this thing called color, which is for the colors you see here. And then alright, so this program checks if there's this flag called wiki repo if it was defined right here. If it's not defined, it will tell the user to define it because it depends on this kind of things. Yeah, This is still work in progress for the Git, but I have another one already ready. This one work in progress, but this one's ready. So, and then if there's the wiki repo arguments, this program will get the actual paths, and then we'll create the adapter, which is either one of this, but yeah, it uses this use adapter. Yeah, in fact, use adapter is actually the name of one of these. So if you change the name, it might not work, but you can add more in a simpler way. Actually, and I left a section in PwmWiki to create wiki repos or more one of these things to make it simple so the user doesn't have to make it themselves. So yeah, you have to define a flag called create, which you will see right here. Alright, so this function is responsible for making the wiki repo, and it will tell you if there's something that went wrong or not, and then it will exit. This function check if the wiki repo is an actual wiki repo. For one thing, it must contain the config.yaml file, and where the data is stored is dependent on the adapters. This will obtain the adapters, by the way, and this is simply just tells you where the wiki repo is, or data repo, whatever it is called, interchangeable. So you know where is it from. This is the runtime assertion that I told you. Normally, in normal situations, wiki repo shouldn't be null, but if something went wrong, then this will stop it. So here's the configuration as you can see here. This will parse the configuration file, the config.yaml you see here, with the encoding UTF-8. Yeah, so yeah, we read the files and then parse it. Alright, so this is where express is used. This is like the backend, and this is like the where the main logic takes place. It's a router, and this is where the logger is. You see this, right? So we install the router and the logger, and now we get to the part. Oh, I forgot. This is where we do actually create the server from this Express app. So first we get the port from the config, and then and then after that we add the server. We and then after that we create the server with HTTP lib and HTTP server. You see here, right? The logic. This is where we actually create the server, and then now we listen to the let the server listen. So alright, so now let's get to the others. Alright, so this is like where the main logic is. This is API routers. You will have a construct function used to construct the router. We will import to more modules, which is view and edit, used for editing the things, and then there's an express module for creating a router, and I need to refactor this. Alright, so the router is created and the view and edit routers are created. Yeah, these two are a router. I installed these two routers for editing and viewing the pages. In fact, I separated them just because I want to organize the code. Yeah, this is will get the main page. In fact, yeah, there's one thing is that there used to be some code here, but I am replacing it with with something else, like used to get the page. So yeah, that's why the data. Oh yeah, that's why the data repo is here, because I was planning to use it to get a special page, so it will display here. Now, if you want to get all pages, like figure out what pages are available, you would go to directory or there, and this is the logic. So okay, status code, try to get all. If there's a problem, 500, and you know the story is the rest. So now this is still blank, but I plan to fill it in. It's for when you want to erase the some of the pages. I better put something secure. Alright, so there's this is where you can actually add the pages. It's still work in progress, but the main logic is already done. I import the data repo, and then there's the express again for the router and body parser to parse the main content. I construct a router, and then there's this adapter which I pass in from this one right here, and then I pass it into the edit router through the API router, and you can see it here. There's this body parser used to parse the content again. It's text, and then I install it. So yeah, with this one is still not done, but I would I'm planning to put an editor in this section here. So yeah, this is where the writing logic actually happens. You see this write method for the data adapter. That is where it's done, and I put two methods, the put and post, because yeah, for rest and other logics. Now there's the viewing logic where it simply allows you to view the data. I have no idea anymore considering I did some stuff, but yeah. I import express for the router again, another construct function. Now this time, this one actually just deals with viewing the page. First, you see this right? This allows me to tap into the parameter right here. In normal situations, this one should not be empty, but I put it here just in case something happen like bug, and I tell the user that this is not the case with a 400 code. And then now this is where the juicy part comes in. The data adapter will search for the page. If the page doesn't exist by returning null, then it will report a 404 error. If something went wrong internally, it will return an error class. And then it will print out the message with a 500 status code. If it's successful, then we get a 200, and then we write the content, and then we finish. Now here's the very fun part. Say hello to my friend data repo. This is the data repo or wiki repo adapter. Here are some of the default configurations. Yeah, this is the default homepage that I was talking about in api.js. Yeah, here's some of the default configuration files and content stuff. PwmWiki. So first export a black module because that is more sane than just exporting it directly. Second, I export all these constants, right? Yeah. So other parts of my software can use it. And then third, I create the factory function. So the logic is that first I create an object for me to populate. Second, I import one of these adapters depending on the adapter here. Third and third, I set constants which are basically like this one here, except that I also added the data location constant. Fourth, I give functions to probe or check about the wiki repo, and I added functions to manipulate the wiki repo or data repo by adding deleting pages. Six, and then I add functions for creating the data repo, which as you can see is in the index.js file used by here. And then I assign all of those different objects to this master mods object, and then I return the mods, which is returned on this method call. Now let me show you the adapters. First, there's the in-memory adapter, which is not persistent but still useful for testing. So this is where all the pages lie. This is where the adapter is created and options and path are set. If you want to know, the adapters are responsible for remembering where is the data repo or wiki repo. So yeah, but first we have to set these things for the make data repo function. Here's some constants. Okay, first there's this function to check for if the wiki repo or data repo is valid. So we'll check if the directory exists. This is just do not mind about this. There is also just this. This is just a stub because like it's in memory, there's no files, but this one will check if there's a config file. Okay, but in normal situations, this will check if there's the data repo stuff. Yeah, you see this is a stub, it just returns the path provided right here. Yeah, which normally goes to the data repo directory of the config and storage. Yeah, and this one returns the path, the resolve path of the config file. This function actually is responsible for making the wiki repo, as you can see, but other adapters have to do their own things. So yeah, this will check if it exists, and if it exists, it will refuse because you do not want it to overwrite your directory. Okay, and then you will make a directory if it's clear, and then write the configuration file. This function is responsible for allowing you to see what pages are there. This function searches and gives you the page if it exists and gives you null if it doesn't exist. There is the write function, which is used for writing pages or updating them, and then there's the erase function, which is used for deleting the page. You see this bod, right? We populate it again the same way, but this time data lock is null because there is no data to persistent data to deal with, and self-explanatory stuff. Now, this is like the one that I plan to complete, but I have problem getting it to work. This is still basically almost the same thing as in memory, but I added few things like a library to deal with Git repositories and a different data log for Git repositories. Now, this is the one that's actually working, a flat file-based adapter. It basically allows you to do wiki repo things, but with files. So let me show you. Let me create a new wiki repo of flat files. All right. You see here, this is like where the files would be stored with the content. So it creates the adapter. This is the same thing as the in-memory one, but this time we'll check if this directory exists. You see here and here. Yeah, this is responsible for giving path to this fs data directory. There's the make wiki repo, which is like the in-memory backend I meant. It makes a config file and does this directory logic thing, checks and makes the directory, but it also makes the fs data directory, which is right here. There's the list function, which actually lists if there's any files in this direct fs data directory. Yeah, so it reads all files there, and then we loop over and okay, we get the full path. Check if this is actually really a file and not a directory or something funny, and then we send it back to the caller. And then there's this function which is like the in-memory one, searches and returns you a page if it exists, or null if it doesn't. In this case, if it exists, it reads the file, and if the file doesn't exist, it does returns null. This one writes to the file in this directory. This one just straight up remove the file because that's how it works. And this is the probing thing. I guess that is all about this code review, but let me demonstrate like some of the features that can be done. So let me start the PwmWiki thing for demo. All right. So now all I need to do is show you this, which is allows me to test. So first, let me send the request to create a new thing. All right. So it's successfully created, and you see this right now. It's created in here. Now let me send a request to see what is there. You will see this. Now let me create a new request. Let me create a new one so you can see that it actually works by reading from here. Yep, this is the content. So I guess that is all from me to review about PwmWiki. I'll see you next time.